Well, Tim Dreverman, it looks to me like we've got Hereford cattle out here and a bunch of boys in blue shirts. What's going on?
Well, we've got the beautiful cattle from the Elliston Pastoral Company making their way out. We're just getting the cattle comfortable out here because we're about to go camp drafting.
We are indeed. You see 15 competitors in front of you. Each have been invited here to compete in the World Championship Camp Draft. We've had 4 nights of competition. Some huge scores over 90. Some nights, in fact, where 13 of our 15 competitors get their beast through the gate. This has been, as Jim Callanan calls it, champagne camp drafting, and I can't wait to see what happens tonight.
We're certainly looking forward to it. Of course, camp drafting started here in Australia. It's Australia's own sport. Like all good sport, it started from a few people, men and women, long days droving on the road. What happens? Like you and I, we get competitive. I reckon I'm the better commentator. I reckon I'm the better handler of beast is how it happened about 100 years ago. They used to cut a beast out of the mob and just run it round a couple of trees, literally, and see who could do it better. And that was where the forefather of the camp drafting sport started. Today, one of the fastest growing equine sports in Australia, with some 16,000 registered competitors across a couple of different platforms around this great nation. From the Northern Territory to Queensland, Victoria, New South Wales, and even over in the West, they all compete in this sport.
Well, 20 years ago, Tim Dreverman, 95% of people that were involved in the sport of camp drafting were from the land themselves. It is so popular these days that 40% of current registered competitors are from urban or suburban areas.
Did you know if you want to go and compete at your local draft, you literally need to do 3 spins, jump up and down twice, and hold your breath to try and get your entries in. It's that competitive, just to try and get a run at a weekend draft.
Yes, well, tonight we are seeing the finest camp drafters in all of Australia. Head out, you can see them warming up here now, getting their horses ready, getting them ready for a bit of a duck and a dive and a spin, because we are going to have them up against Elliston cattle here in a moment.
Now, you and I, Lindsay Douglas, always try and be experts of everything, or jack of all, master of none. But there is a man out there who's been the voice of camp drafting for what feels about an eternity. About a century ago, he started camp drafting here at the Sydney Royal Easter Show commentating, and it is great to welcome Mr. Jim Callahan down here to centre stage.
Thank you very much, Tim and Lindsay. Welcome to round 5 of the World Championship Camp Draft. And tonight, it's my great pleasure to welcome from the Elliston team, Mrs. Packer. A very big welcome to you for round 5, Mrs. Packer. To your general manager up at Elliston, Rob Teague, and his wife Michelle, Scott Mitchell and his wife Anne, and all the team. We just cannot thank you so much. That's from all the camp draft competitors here, the RAS. It's just been absolutely champagne camp drafting. Thank you to Elliston once again.
Well, Jim Callanan, because it is World Championship Camp Draft Round 5, we are going to start things properly. Could I ask you all, ladies and gentlemen, to be upstanding and remove your hats as Kai Lloyd-Jones presents the Australian National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good by seas. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who come across the seas, we found this place to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strength and let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Well, how about that, Kai Lloyd-Jones? A great start here to round 5 of the Royal Easter Show World Championship Camp Drafting. Each night, the draw is pulled and a different rider heads into camp first. Tonight, it's a young man called Josh Barnett. He's 24 years old. He has had a score every single night this series. He scored a 90 on night 1, 89 the next 2 nights, and 89 last night. We can't wait to see what he does on his gorgeous 10-year-old mare, Duckrageous.
Well, Lindsay, let's see if we can keep this momentum going with run after run after run and really get the crowd involved. For round number 5, it starts to get a little bit close to the business end of this great event.
Well, Josh is a fitter machinist when he's at home and a horse breaker and trainer. His parents, Annette and Richard, will be watching on. His partner of 7 years, Beck Roberts, a brilliant camp drafter herself. He actually won the aggregate in the Federation Cup Rodeo Challenge here at Sydney Royal on the first 6 nights for his bronc riding expertise. He's what we call an all-rounder horseman out there. He went to his first draft when he was just 8 years old, and that was 16 years ago. Was invited here in 2019 on a different horse. And this year, he's out here on Duckrageous.
And once again, we welcome our camp draft judges, Ken Skip McCarthy from Kempsey, the cattleman horse breeder, and also Matt McCormick, the livestock agent from Casino. Our 2 camp draft judges, so we welcome Skippy McCarthy and Matt McCormick. Also, to those people at home, we welcome you joining us here from the Royal Easter Show via live stream. And we hope that you can ride the armchairs around your lounge room and cheer and shout, etc. from home. So there's one heifer there that the judges just think that might be better if she's just put aside. Just put her over there along the back into their bedroom. And they get looked after just like being a member of the RAS out the back. You can just get treated like royalty.
Well, if there's one comment we've heard from all of the camp drafting competitors over the last few days, it's the quality of these cattle from Elliston, exceptional, and the grounds. They're saying that galloping around on those grounds in front of this crowd is unlike any other camp draft in all of Australia.
And we see the very best of our camp draft competitors and the Australian stock horses at the very best here at the Giant Stadium. And there's no better place to be competing here at the Royal Easter Show.
Hey Jim, for the boys and girls and mums and dads that are looking at a camp draft for the first time, and I've got 5 French friends here tonight that have never seen a camp draft in their life. They said, what are these fences doing? What's happening with these cattle? Can you describe to them how these riders will be scored this evening?
Well, in the cattle camp where the competitor starts his run, he cuts a beast out from the mob, and that's out of a possible score of 26 points. Then they'll call for the gate. It's a left-hand course this evening. And the 2 points for the first peg. Then the second peg's taken on the right. There's 1 point for that one. Then they'll do a changeover and head for those 2 little pegs there in front of the members' stand, as we refer to as the gate. There's 1 point for that one, so it's a total of 4 points for course. And the speed of the run, the control of the run, that's out of a possible score of 70 points. So you add the 26, the 70 and the 4, it's out of a possible score of 100 as we go into action here with competitor number 1, round 5, Josh Barnett with Duckrageous all the way from Singleton, and the beautiful Hereford heifer from Elliston. She says, I'll just have a little bit of a look around this beautiful ground here and look at Duck Rageous and Josh Barnett. And the heifer says, this feels magnificent, the turf. Does a changeover. Boys and girls, mums and dads, I think we better get ready to ride. And look here, where's Richard, Annette and Beck? Now they get together. Come on, let's start to ride with him. How about it? Can he wheels it around? The Hereford heifer, Duck Rageous, Josh Barnett. Clap, 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 clap.
Well, what a way to start the night. We await our judges' scores there for Josh Barnett and Duck Rageous. Cody Law heads into camp. Cody Law, 44 from Glen Innes, the grazier and proud father of 2.
So the scores coming through for Josh Barnett and Duck Rageous. A score of 23 for cutout, 62 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 89 points. 89 points there for Duck Rageous, ridden by Josh Barnett and Annette and Richard and Beck. They're jumping up and down in the seat. Well done, Josh.
Well, as much as this competition's about getting through the gate and scoring big points with our judges, it's also about consistency, and Josh Barnett proving one of the most consistent campaigners this year. Cody Law in camp now. Yarrawa Guns and Roses, the 11-year-old gelding, 3rd in the World Championship camp draft here at Sydney Royal in 2019.
So Cody Law makes his selection and right up the face of the camp, and Guns and Roses now. Now goes one way, goes the other. Just slips back a panel. Good block over the far side. Out onto the dance floor they come. Now out onto the dance floor, and he's got a fast one. Or the Hereford heifer straight across. He just wheels it inside the gate. Guns and Roses. Now Cody Law around the first peg. Which way they're going to go? Look here. Now he's got a time. Now does the changeover. He'll want to tighten it up, and that's what his idea is. Now Guns and Roses says, leave the footwork to me. Around the second peg. And look here, Guns and Roses, Cody Law. Now Nat, Riley and Hannah, you better get riding with Cody. Here we go. Get ready, Sydney. Get ready. Clap, clap, clap again.
Well, haven't we turned it on tonight for our audience on the final Sunday of the Sydney Royal Easter Show? Can't wait to see that score for Cody Law and Yarrawa Guns and Roses. Terry Hannigan heads into camp now on a 15-year-old mare who's won several open drafts in the last 2 years and made the final of Canning Downs in 2019. This is Smart Auslan Pastures Ricky, a horse he calls Ricky, and Terry's a farmer from Canamble.
A score now for Cody Law and Yarrawa Guns and Roses, 22.5 for cutout, 60.5 for horsework, 4 out of 4 for the course, a total of 87. 87 points for Yarrawa Guns and Roses, ridden by Cody Law. Well done, Cody.
Well, if we keep these scores up over 85, it's going to get very competitive towards the pointy end of this competition.
So Terry Hannigan, all the way from Canamble, and got all the family down too from Canamble as well, not just wife Robin, but the whole family here. So welcome to the Hannigan family here to support Terry in round number 5 as he comes right up the face of the camp. Goes 1 and the 3 and the 4 as well. He calls for the gate. The pressure's on. He steps out here onto the dance floor in the Giant Stadium. Terry Hannigan, the cattleman, horse breeder from Canamble, around the first peg they come, and Ricky says, leave the footwork to me, Terry. They do the changeover. He's going to go hard, will he? He's going to go hard now around the second peg. Come on, where's the family? Cheer him on, Rob. Get them going around the second peg. Now, what can he do? Got to get up. He gives the heifer a little bit of a bump. Now, comes the back around. He just says, I'll play it nice and safe. Now, Ricky says, well, just go when you're ready, Terry. Can they? Can they? Can they? Yes, they can. Well done, Terry. 3 out of 3, Lindsay.
Unbelievable. This lady next in camp is a great one for the girls in the crowd to get behind. 38-year-old Allison Sadler, the mum and farmhand from Bunnan. Last night, she was 2nd place in the round 4. A score of 91 on this horse. Smart Spin and Feck.
Score coming through now for Terry Hannigan, Auslan's Pastures Ricky. Scored 22.5 for cutout, 62 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 88.5. 88.5 points for Pastures Ricky, ridden by Terry Hannigan. So we now go with Allison Sadler, the full-time mum. And she's got those three beautiful kids, Clay, Toby and Lexi here, cheering her on. Now, with smart spin and freck around the first peg, and look here, the Palomino and the Hereford Heifer. Isn't this a lovely, colourful combination? Now around the first peg, Ali Salah. And smart spring and freck, they go a little wide. Now she says, just set back. I think she can nearly ride, can she? Oh, no. Give her a round of applause, the lovely lady there, and Ali Sadler. Give her a round of applause, Sydney. We'll have a cutout score there for you coming through.
Well, Jim Callanan, Bruce Coulthard in Cam now. This man won the entire World Championship Camp Draft at the last Sydney Royal Easter Show, and he's looking pretty good this year too. A score of 88 last night, a score of 89.5 in round one. On a horse called Fig, which is the same horse he won on. Fig's sire was Royal Fletch, an NCHA Futurity champion over in the USA. So from good bloodlines, and Bruce has been camp drafting for 43 years. From Haddon, Queensland, he'll have his family cheering on.
Allison Sadler with smart spin and freck was 22.5 points for cutout. 22.5 points there for smart spin and freck, ridden by Allison Sadler. Number 5 now. In round 5, the World Championship Camp Draft brought to you with the compliments of Tyrrells. And once again, many thanks to Elliston, and we welcome the whole team from Elliston Pastoral Company, to Mrs. Packer, to the GM, Rob Teague and his wife Michelle, 2IC, Scott Mitchell and his wife Anne, and all the team. Many thanks to Elliston. What a great connection you have with the RAS. So Bruce Coulthard, he said it's pretty hard to pick one when you get a lot of cattle like this. Right up the face of the camp. Fig now. Goes one way, goes the other. All going for the big points here. Bruce Coulthard just steps back a panel. Blocks are there. Now Bruce Coulthard with Fig now around the first peg they come. Things are looking pretty good. And look at Fig, says, no, Bruce, just sit here for a little. Now he goes. He does the changeover, will he? He's going to try and tighten it up. Yes, he's going to try to. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. He takes the leaves off it. Bruce Coulthard and Fig. Now they ride. They ride hard. Now what can he do? Now he's going to have to go hard again. Look here. Chill, boys and girls, mums and dads, get ready for... Well, he comes back to tidy it around, and there goes the judge's whips. Give him a round of applause, Sydney. Things were looking so good. He'll come up with a score, but just not the score that he was hoping for.
Well, that's the sport of camp draft for you, and it can all go to chaos right there at the end of the gate. The next young man in camp is, in fact, the youngest competitor in this competition. Tyler Berkeley, 18 years old. He was only 16 when the Sydney Royal Easter Show invited him to compete in 2019. He's riding the 11-year-old gelding called Quinton, and he's the nicest young gentleman, a university student up at Inverell.
Bruce Coulthard with Fig scored 22.5 for cutout, 58.5 for horsework, 3 course points, a total of 84. 84 points there for Fig, ridden by Bruce Coulthard. So Tyler Berkeley, the camp draft competitors say, wouldn't it be great to just chase cattle like this weekend after weekend?
Well, young Tyler Berkeley has won 150 drafts, was the 3rd most successful rider in 2018.
Right up the face of the camp here now, Tyler Berkeley with Quinton from the New England town of Inverell. Out into the Giant Stadium and around the first peg. The heifer has a little bit of the look of the peg. And look at Quinton. Right around. What do we go? And he gets it wheeled in there now. Berkeley, Tyler Berkeley and Quinton. Oh, they do a bit of a zig and a zag, but it's zagged okay. Around the second peg they come. Tyler Berkeley and the Hereford Heifer, and Quinton says, we've got it back on track. Around they come. Can they do it? Ron and Janita and Logan cheer him on. Just sit, warm the hands up. Here, can he do it? Quinton and Tyler, yes they can. There it goes. Well done, Tyler.
Well, great to see our youngest competitor out there having another fantastic round here in the World Championship Camp Draft. Paige Nancaro heads into camp now, had never been to a Sydney Royal Easter show. She has gotten through the gate every single night in this series. She's riding a horse called One Stylish Oak, and she's one of those rare competitors that doesn't come from a family of camp drafters. Her parents didn't camp draft, but they've certainly gotten behind her now. A talented young woman, Todd and Nancy Nancaro and Darcy, are all big supporters of this young lady, a livestock contractor from Camperdown, Victoria.
Tyler Berkeley with Quentin scored 20.5 for cutout, 59.5 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 84 points. 84 points there for Quentin, ridden by Tyler Berkeley. Okay, so Paige Nancaro, One Stylish Oak, and look here, Stylish Oak says, I've got the dance shoes on this afternoon, and steps right up the front and does a 4 of the 5, right in the middle of the camp. Paige Nancaro, she calls for the doors to open, goes over, oh, good block as well, comes this way. The Hereford Heather says, let's get out here onto the Giant Stadium dance floor. Now, oh, One Stylish Oak just says, sit a little. Look here, around the first peg. Oh, Paige Nancaro, One Stylish Oak, around the first peg they come. They do the changeover. One Stylish Oak. Look here around the second one. Oh, down on the ground. Around. This is camp drafting. Now, Paige Nancaro, One Stylish Oak. Now, the heifer says, you want me to poke over towards the member stand, do you? She said, I want her a little bit to be treated like royalty. And Paige Nancaro, oh, can she get around? Can she get around? Where she comes. Can she line it up? Can she line it up? Yes, she can. Paige Nancaro and One Stylish Oak.
Just within the time allowed. Well done, Paige Nancaro. She's quickly becoming one of my favourites to watch out there. Our next in camp, Tony Mortimer. Little Abby is the horse. The 15-year-old mare has won over 15 drafts. Tony Mortimer from Saltash near Nelson's Bay, married to his lovely wife Kim for 22 years. And he's certainly been one to watch in this competition. He won round 2 this year.
Paige Nancaro, One Stylish Oak, 23 for cutout, 62 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 89. 89 points for One Stylish Oak, ridden by Paige Nancaro.
Well, that puts her into the equal lead with Josh Barnett on Duck Rageous. But in camp now, this is Tony Mortimer.
So Tony Mortimer, and Tony Mortimer got the wire. Kim, the wife, Chelsea, Jimmy and Jessica all down here to support Tony this evening. So welcome Kim, Chelsea, Jimmy and Jessica. Let's ride with Tony because the mum and the kids are all with you. And little Abby. Right up the face of the camp. He does the 1, the 2, goes back for the 3 and the 4, calls for the gate. He comes across, goes back across the camp there now, blocks it around. Yes, blocks it again, looks out now, come around. Now, just waiting to get this one out. Now she says, yes, there it is. I want to get out in the night to the Giant Stadium. Now, Tony Mortimer and little Abby around the first peg. Around they come. Now he'll try and tighten things up a little bit, looking to pick up a few more horsework points. He does a changeover. Now around the second peg. Little Abby says, leave the footwork to me. You just come with me. Now around here, he presses the GPS. You better get ready, Kim, Chelsea, Jimmy and Jessica. You better make him feel pretty good. Look here, Sydney. Come on, Sydney. Make him feel good. Tony Mortimer with little Abby.
Well, we're getting some great scores out here this evening. That will make us 6 rounds out of 8 competitors getting it through the gate.
So the score coming through for Tony Mortimer and little Abby. Score now for Tony Mortimer and little Abby is 19.5 for cutout, 63.5 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 87 points. 87 points for little Abby, ridden by Tony Mortimer.
Well, we talked about the importance of consistency in this competition. Next to go into camp is Simone Harvey, only 35 years old. She has twice been invited here to the Sydney Royal, and twice she has won the ladies' draft here. Been drafting for 17 years. She's the lecturer at the performance course at Tocal College, and we've seen her with some wonderful success on this horse, the 15-year-old mare, Peel Vale Jane.
So Simone and her number one supporter here as well, her husband Luke. The ever-smiling Simone drew number 9 in the draw here in round 5. She makes her selection. What a wonderful lot of cattle. What a great connection the RAS have with Elliston Pastoral Company. This is what it's all about. Teamwork makes the plan work. So Simone, she's got her eye on one. She's just waiting for one to walk up a little further so she can try and get it nice and clean. Peel Vale Jane, she's all ready to go. She says, that's the one I want. Walks away, gets it nice and clean now. Simone Harvey, she steps up, right up the face of the camp. Jane says, yes, when you're ready. She calls for the gate. She goes, oh, nice block over the far side. Here's Simone Harvey, Peel Vale Jane. Now they just set things up, and the Hereford heifer says, yes, it feels really good as they float around the first peg now. Simone Harvey, Peel Vale Jane. Now she says, I'll just sit back a little tiny bit and do a little bit of a changeover. Now just doing a little bit of a zig and a zag there. The heifer's having a nice look around the giant stadium. Now she says, I'll just sit back a little, and she'll run on back around here nicely as the heifer starts to straighten out. Comes around the second peg. Now, look at Peel Vale Jane, says, we're ready to go now, Simone. They get 3 out of 4 for the course. Now she's just got to duck around and hunt the heifer back over towards the members' stand. And there goes the whistle. Give them a round of applause there, Sydney. Simone Harvey and Peel Vale Jane.
Well, great to see Simone back out here. She's been one of the most consistent campaigners here in the World Championship Camp Draft Series. Andrew Chapman. He heads into camp now. Was equal second here in 2018. Also placed in 2019. He got a score of 91 last night on Acres Mercury, the 14-year-old stallion.
So a score coming through for Simone Harvey and Peel Vale Jane of 21.5 for cutout, 55.5 for horsework, 3 course points, a total of 80. 80 points for Peel Vale Jane, ridden by Simone Harvey. So Andrew Chapman, the property manager from Nundle. Also got the family here this evening as well as we welcome Trudy, Charlie and Georgia. They'll be barracking and clapping up in the stands. So Chappie and Acres Mercury. Oh, right up the face of the camp. He's going for the big ones here in round 5. Calls for the gate. Does the 3 and the 4. Steps out onto the giant stadium. Andrew Chapman and Acres Mercury. And got a nice kind running bee. Oh, look here. And look at Mercury. He's right on the job here on the Sunday afternoon. Now, Andrew Chapman says, I'll just let the heifer run a little bit. He says, I'm ready to go when you are, Chappie. He says, what about now? What about now? He says, yes, I'll go now. And Mercury's got it all under control. Chappie, oh, Trudy and Charlie and Georgia. Can Dad do it? Can he do it? Can he do it? Brings it around. He brings it around. Yes!
We are seeing some superb camp drafting here tonight. A big thank you to Tyrrell's, our major sponsor. They've been partners with this program for a really long time. And for 160 years, the Tyrrell family have been growing their magnificent grapes in the Hunter Valley and producing beautiful wines, Chardonnays, Shiraz, but my favourite, the VAT one, Semillon. It's won over 5,500 trophies and over 300 awards as well. The brilliant team at Tyrrell's. We might be celebrating with one of those tonight, I think. This is Troy Palmer in camp now.
Andrew Chapman with Acres Mercury scored 23 for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 90 points. 90 points for Acres Mercury, ridden by Andrew Chapman. Okay, number 11 now, Troy Palmer. with Jabel Shakira Spinners out onto the dance floor in the Giant Stadium, and here's the Palomino mare and another Hereford heifer. Oh, and the pressure's on. Palmer's riding hard, and look at Spin, Shakira Spin around the first peg. They do the changeover. Troy Palmer and Jabel Shakira Spin around the second peg. Now he's, oh yes, things are looking good. Shakira Spin says, just hit a little and let's go hard. Let's go hard now. Now, Mel and Jane, they're going to get pretty excited. Troy Palmer, Shakira Spin, Champagne, Camp Drafting with the compliments of Tyrrells and backed up by Elliston Pastoral Company. Once again, absolutely first class.
Well, if we look up to the scoreboard, the score to beat is Andrew Chapman on a 90. We've got two sitting in at 89. That's Paige Nancaro and Josh Barnett. We've got an 88.5 with Terry Hannigan. Can we beat the 90 with Troy Palmer and his beautiful Palomino mare?
Okay, the score's coming through for Troy Palmer and Jabel Shakira Spin of 23 for cutout, 64 for horsework, 64.5 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 91.5 points. 23, 64.5, and 4, a total of 91.5 points for Jabel Shakira Spin, ridden by Troy Palmer.
Well, a new leader in the competition. Troy Palmer, Jabel Shakira Spin, next in camp. I had a wine with his beautiful wife last night. She's a wonderful camp drafter herself. This is Grant Watham in now, the 48-year-old from Maitland, the livestock agent and grazier, camp drafting for 35 years. He's been invited to the Sydney Royal Easter Show World Championship Camp Draft 17 times. And this is his third year out here on this particular horse, a horse called Samuel's Jewel Acres, the 14-year-old mare who has won 7 open camp drafts.
So they just bring a few of the sisters out. But the Hereford heifer here, likes to have a good look around the Giant Stadium. She says, good to see you all here and having a good look at me. I made the trip down from up in the hills up at Elliston.
From the rolling hills of Elliston, just outside of Scone. You've never seen happier cattle. They live life up there, don't they, Jim?
That's right, Lindsay, and she knew exactly where to go to, over to the member stand. And don't forget, if you want to become a member of the RAS, you'll get treated like royalty over there.
I've been a member for 36 years, Jim, and my parents for over 70, and their parents before them for their entire lives. And means you can come as much to the show as you want to and have a great time in the members bar there. Lots of privileges associated with being an RAS member.
Well, Lindsay too, there's been a couple of times in the last few years, there's been a couple of times that I don't remember leaving the members.
Jim Callanan, I think there might be some other people that can claim that that feeling as well, but it's a great opportunity to get together, and I know that our camp drafters love getting out and socialising too. This is Grant Watham now, Samuel Jules Acres.
Here we go, right up the face of the camp, and I'll have the family here as well. A big family night here for our competitors with Michelle, Hayden and Ellie. Grant Watham steps out onto the dance floor, and oh, he's got a fast one. Oh, and across the Giant Stadium, and can he wheel it back in there before they cross that line, and comes around. He says, I'll just sit a little tiny bit, and wants to go again. And there goes the stock whips from our two judges, as we welcome our two judges as well, Skippy McCarthy and Matt McCormack. So unfortunately, only a cutout score there for Grant Watham, but give him a round of applause, Sydney. Sometimes things don't come together. And he go out with a cutout score of 22.5 points. 22.5 points there for Samuel's Jules Acres, ridden by Grant Watham.
Adam Sadler heads into camp now. He was equal second here in 2018 on a different horse. This time, he's on the 11-year-old mare, Raven Acres. Adam's a 49-year-old farm manager, and he says he has the best job in the world working for the Dunnets. He's from Bunnan, married to Allison, who's been competing out this camp draft too. He's been drafting for 30 years, and this is his 4th time at the Sydney Royal Easter Show World Championship Camp Draft. In 2001, he was the most successful camp drafter. He's been the ABCRA Horse Award and runner-up in 2001, 2005, and in 2019. He's been the winner of the coveted Canning Downs Camp Draft on a horse called Tujano Spin, and he was runner-up most successful rider for the ABCRA in 2019. Well, we've had a fantastic couple of nights of competition here, and it's brought to us with the compliments of Tyrrell's. Tonight, if you want to celebrate, our camp drafters certainly will be after this. Enjoy one of their brilliant Shiraz or Chardonnays or their Pinot Noir range as well. That family have been planting grapes in the Hunter Valley since their founder, English immigrant Edward Tyrrell, arrived and planted them back in the mid-19th century. They've lived and breathed wine growing and winemaking in the Hunter Valley for more than 160 years, and they've amassed an unrivaled knowledge of what makes the Hunter one of Australia's and indeed one of the world's greatest wine-growing regions. Well, Jim, we are indebted to Tyrrell's for their support of our World Championship Camp Draft and Elliston for those magnificent Hereford heifers that we have out here tonight.
There's no doubt about that, Lindsay Douglas. But anyhow, they've been put away and they'll be very well cared for down the backyards there. There's Adam Sadler with Raven Acres. And he makes his selection very quickly and gets it off nice and clean, and right up the face of the camp comes Adam Sadler with Raven Acres. He does the 2, the 3, sits in the middle of the camp, comes the other way, goes back the other way now. Look here, the pressure's on, steps out now onto the dance floor here in round 5 of the World Championship Camp Draft, and got the very dark red Pole Hereford heifer. They come around the first peg. Raven Acres says, leave the footworks to me just for the moment, Adam, you give me the now, and says, click me up, and click him up, he does, and he comes around the second peg. Oh, yes, he says, no, go right now. Raven Acres, now, come on. Well, Allison and Clay, Toby and Lexi, ride with Dad, around they come. He's trying, can he wheel it around? Camp drafting, right up on the beast shoulder, looks really good. Look here, Champagne, camp drafting, get the glasses out. Adam Sadler with Raven Acres.
Well, Jim Callanan, you talk about Champagne camp drafting. Watch this competitor next in camp. 10 years he's been out here on this horse. 35 times he's been invited to the Sydney Royal Easter Show. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row he's won this competition, and actually he's won it 4 times overall. This is Nigel Cable from the little village of Rydal near Lithgow, riding a horse that is an absolute legend of the industry, was inducted to the Australian Stock Horse Hall of Fame, the 23-year-old stallion, Chevin Ivory.
Adam Sadler with Raven Acres scored 22 for cutout, 63 for horsework, 4 course points, a total of 89 points. 89 points for Raven Acres, ridden by Adam Sadler.
Well, Troy Palmer's 91.5 on Jabil Shakira Spin is the score to beat, 91.5.
Well, Nigel, he gets the nod from our 2 judges with Chevron Ivory. Oh, and yes, he says that's the one I'll be just let her stand there, and he brings her right up the face of the camp. Nigel Cable and Chevron Ivory. Right up the face, he does the 2, the 3, he goes for the 4, he calls for the gate, comes across the camp here now, blocks up again, out onto the dance floor. Here's Nigel Cable with Chevron Ivory around the first peg. They plan to put it together, and Ivory says, let's go now, and really tighten things up. Camp drafting at its best. Now, Ivory, Nigel Cable, they do the changeover. He's going to tighten it up around the second peg, gives it a bit of a bump. Camp drafting at his best. Oh, right up on the beast's shoulder. And Ivory got it all under control. Cable now says, I'll just sit back a little tiny bit and look at Chevron Ivory. He says, I'm ready for the changeover, Nigel. Going for the big points. He's going for the big points. Around. Can he? Give him a round of applause, Sydney. Nigel Cable with Chevron Ivory.
Well, we await the score there for Nigel Cable and Chevin Ivory, and our final camp drafter heads into camp. He's only 24 years old. His name is Wyatt Young. Last night, he had a score of 90.5. It put him into 3rd. Night 1, he came out here and got a score of 89. Last time we had a Sydney Royal Easter Show, he was 4th overall on this very horse, Cedar Vale Twist.
Nigel Cable with Chevron Ivory, 22 for cutout, 59 for horsework, 3 course points, a total of 84. 84 points for Chevron Ivory, ridden by Nigel Cable. Well, our final competitor, number 15 in the draw for round 5 on this beautiful Sunday evening, White Young with Cedar Vale Twist. And right up the face of the camp too, there's not much room to twist. He's going for the big points. White Young comes across now, blocks again, and twist. She says it nearly turned inside out. White Young now comes around the first peg, and he's going to go pretty hard. Oh, look here, around the first peg. Took the leaves off it. The leaves are still shaking. He does a bit of a changeover now. Lets the heifer run on. Now White Young, Cedar Vale Twist, will there, just won't run on. And he says, I'm not going to waste my mare's time. Give me a round of applause, Sydney. Cedar Vale Twist, ridden by White Young. We'll have a cutout score for you.
Well, Jim, that's the sport of camp draft. You go into the camp, you do your best to choose the beast that'll get you around the course and get you a huge score for horsework. But sometimes the heifer doesn't play ball.
So White Young with Cedar Vale Twist scored 23.5 points for cutout. 23.5 points for Cedar Vale Twist, ridden by White Young. Well, Lindsay, what a round. Round 5. It starts to get to the business end of the World Championship Camp Draft. And what an evening we're in for on Monday afternoon.
Well, we've had a wonderful couple of nights of camp drafting out here, Jim Callanan. Tomorrow night, can you believe it? The culmination of 6 nights of fierce competition. 15 competitors from all around Australia who have been invited here by the Royal Agricultural Society of New South Wales to compete with these magnificent Elliston cattle on behalf of the Tyrrell's team at the World Championship Camp Draft. Well, they'll move the heifers out now. We'll get ready for the presentation. But Tim Dreverman, we've got some special guests up on the sky deck this evening. I wonder if they can hear us right now.
Well, I'm not sure whether they can or not, but if they can, welcome to our Rural Achievers. If they can't, our 2021 Sydney Royal Easter Show Rural Achievers are up there, and what a great night it is.
You've been a rural achiever. What is it?
It's a very special competition where we bring 8 people from all around regional New South Wales, give them an experience like no other. It's a competition, but it's also a hands-on 6-day look at how this great show works.
Well, we'll do a big shout out to them this evening. They'll actually make the announcement of the Rural Ambassador for New South Wales who'll represent this state at a national level this evening. But I've got to tell you, I had the pleasure of interviewing each of those rural achievers from the most diverse backgrounds, wonderful young people, full of character, really involved in the show movement in dramatically different ways, representing their communities. Some of them are not even from the country. Some of them have become involved in agriculture as a result of involvement with various school programs. But Jim Callanan, I believe you're with our winner from tonight's round right now.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. And the winner of round 5, Troy Palmer with Jabel Shakira Spin. And the presentation being made to Troy by past President of the RAS, Mr. Rob Vickery. So great to see you out here this afternoon, Rob, and enjoying the camp drafting. You've been a great supporter of the sport of camp drafting. But I'm right here with the winner now, Troy Palmer, round 5. Troy, must be a very proud moment.
Yeah, Carlo, it's always good to come down to Sydney. We love coming down and getting our city fixed for a week. We do love getting back to the country, but it is great to come down here.
Troy, it's a pretty tight competition, been champagne camp drafting night after night, but a wonderful lot of competitors, a wonderful lot of horses, but the cattle have just been absolutely superb.
Yeah, I've been coming down here for a fair while now, Jimmy, and it's a credit to the competitors. It's the best camp drafting I've seen here for a long time, and it's a very big credit to Rob and Michelle Tagg and Mrs. Packer from Elliston Pastoral Company and Scott and Ann. They're down here tonight watching the camp draft, and they've supplied the cattle for us, and I will say they're the best line of heifers or any cattle I've seen down here ever, I think, Jimmy.
Well, that's a pretty big statement because you travel the country doing the camp drafting sport, but all the very best for the remaining round.
Thanks, Jimmy.
So there they are, and I'll just catch up with the second place getter here. Andrew, Chapman, Chappie, well done. Pretty tight competition to 2021.
Yeah, it's great competition, Jimmy. I'll back Troy's words up there. This is the best cattle line I've seen down here and the most scores we've ever had, so it's just a credit to the cattle owners, and thanks to Tyrrell's again for their sponsorship to the for the Campdraft. And Allison Pastoral Company.
And what about how the crowd really get involved as well?
Yeah, look, it's great. The atmosphere down here is wonderful, and the cheer you get when you go through the grate is really great, so thanks to the crowd as well.
Okay, we might just be able to catch up with the lady from Victoria, the first time making a debut here at the Sydney Easter Show. Well, how's that feel, Paige?
Oh, it's a great feeling to be up here with all these people.
And first time, but you'll be wanting to come back now.
Yeah, definitely now. I've got a taste for it.
Hey, what about the cattle? You have cattle as good as this in Victoria?
Oh, these ones here, they're pretty good.
Okay, but all the very best for the remaining round, Paige.
Thanks.
Okay, I think that just about wraps things up for round number 5. So there they are, the past president of the RAS, Mr. Rob Vickery, with the place getters of round 5. So tomorrow evening, the last round of the World Championship Camp Draft. All the best to the competitors. And it's about time now for me to cross back to you, Lindsay Douglas. Thank you, Lindsay.
Well, Sydney, let's show some appreciation for our winner this evening, Troy Palmer on Jabel Shakira spin. Second place to Andrew Chapman and Acres Mercury. Equal third place to Adam Sadler, Paige Nancaro, Josh Barnett, and the voice, the golden tonsils of Mr. Camp Draft himself, Mr. Polocross, Mr. Australian Stock Horse, Jim Callanan.
Mr. Members Bar by the sounds of it as well.
Mr. Tyrrells.
As they come around. Well done, Troy. Great to see you down here again. Surviving without fee. Well done, mate.
Well, that is the prettiest mare you've seen on a Camp Draft arena.
Well, as they make their way out of the arena, high achievers, those camp drafters.
Speaking of high achievers, we've got some rural achievers up high.
The what?
We've got some rural achievers, which are 8 of our most brilliant next generation leaders in show movement, in rural Australia, in agriculture. They're up on the sky deck right now. I wonder if they can hear us. I'm going to try and get a camera pointed up there. We might say hi